All right, people, this will be one of the last videos out here in the wash bay. We sold this house and we're moving in a few, I guess it'll be about 6 weeks is when we close. And I've had it on the docket here to service this machine, mainly because I wanted to document it and have that available. This is a 20 millimeter pump where all the K1322, the K1122, all the ones that most of you guys buy are a 12 millimeter pump. And so this is just has bigger plungers inside of it, so I'm kind of interested in tear it apart. But really, this whole stainless thing is just a shroud. They don't make this like this anymore. We sold maybe a dozen of these in the world, so I feel like it'll be useful to have that information on how to service it. I'm going to figure it out here. I've never actually taken this machine apart. So this is about, I don't know how many hours of operation, but you figure it's been out here for coming up on 4 years now. So let's just say 3.5 years. And average weekly use is probably average, say, an hour a week. So 4 hours a month. So I'm, 50, 60 hours of operation into this. So it's probably time to service it. I'd noticed there was a little bit of a leak, and usually that means that it's time to replace the seals. And so I'm going to kind of take this shroud off and walk you through how I service this thing, and we'll see if what I'm doing is the right thing. But it should be serviced the same way as another machine. So the first thing I did was turn the power off. So I have a dedicated, what do I have on here? A 20 amp, 2-pole 20 amp is what I have set up on this pump. The pump is going to stay here mainly just because the people saw this and wanted it. And I don't have anywhere to put it anyway at the new house yet. And so I would want a new machine. So it just made sense to leave it. But I'm going to take all the pieces off here so that I can access everything. So there's a few screws on each side. I already took this side piece off. I shouldn't need to disconnect the inlet and outlet because I'll show you in a minute. I'm gonna grab the little Sony camera too so I can get some different angles of this to show you what's doing, but I shouldn't need to disconnect any of this stuff to access the machine. And I think I might just leave it inside of here. We'll see how it comes together. The way that this thing is set up, I could just pull it off the wall if I wanted to, but I don't think I'm gonna have to do that. So this is all probably 304 stainless. So it's all really, nicely kept, and I've never really done anything to this. So if you were using a unit like this commercially, you would have to do maintenance much more often. There's no question that you'd have to. But because I use it recreationally, wash a car every now and then, I don't have to do as much. Just show people here. So here's the inside. And so I'm going to disconnect the gauge here. And you can see some oil and water inside of there. But rather than having to disconnect the lines on the outside, I'll disconnect the lines on the inside. And you can see this little jumper hose for the gauge. So I'll just disconnect all that stuff. Should be able to pull the front cover off and then have full access to the machine sitting right on the shelf there. I don't even think I'm going to need to take it out or disconnect it. So these are glycerin gauges. So any Kranzle, you'll have a air bubble looking thing. But don't panic, it's supposed to be there. That's better. So I just pulled this line off here. So I put my 19 on there, 14 on there, and just attach the line that goes up onto the top. That's where the outlet pressure's measured for our gauge on the front. So now I can pull the whole cover off. So it's gonna be pretty simple here. So one of the things we've been kind of battling with people is that You know, some people have been buying the 12, you know, the 12 millimeter pumps or 10 mil. Is it 12 or 10? Maybe it's a 10 millimeter. I think the 1122 is a 10 millimeter pump. And then they're using them commercially and then not servicing them, thinking that, well, if I spend $1,000 when I was going to spend $150, that it should be infallible. Well, no. You know, professional grade products require professional grade care. You've got to take care of it. And if you're going to neglect it, then just be prepared for the consequences, which would be to have to buy a new one or to, you know, have to pay to have it fixed. And so the risk here with me, I haven't serviced this machine like I probably should have. And so the ramifications are that I may have to send it in for more expensive repairs because I haven't been caring for it in order to warrant and demand the performance, you know, demand, you know, warranty, if you will, demand that the machine should last forever if I'm not going to care for it like it's going to last forever. You know what I'm saying. So anyway, we had a, oh yeah, that's some ugly looking oil. 230 volts, 60 hertz, 2,900 watts. That's a pretty looking machine right there. But the beauty of this is how, you know, the whole structure. I wish they still made this. The backstory is that the Kranzle family kind of got in the tift. I'm going to take this off too so we can clean it all out. With the family that made all their stainless stuff. And so now they don't make this shroud like this anymore. So if you go to the website, you can see what the KWS-700 and 1200s look like. They don't have this pretty stainless structure. This thing's been pretty darn bulletproof for me. Other than starting to see what is likely happening is I'm getting some leakage because water's getting past the seals. I can see it in the oil that it's brown and ugly looking. That means that likely there's water that's gotten in there. And you should probably do that before that happens. But if it does happen, it shouldn't be the end of the world. As long as we didn't get any starvation or cavitation, we should be good. The reason I'm taking this off is I want to clean up the kind of oily water that got inside of there. Do you imagine buying this house and not knowing anything about this stuff and they're going to use this setup to clean their lawn equipment? That's very cool. So now this, probably going to have to break it loose. This has been on here a long time. I'm gonna have to put a set of channel locks on there. It's just locked on there for being on there for years. We got some jawless channel locks. That's not gonna work. It's gonna make it even worse. Because I do want to take this head off because I want to get the seals there. So you know what? Maybe I should just, let me see if I can get this off easily. If not, I'll probably just leave it on there. There we go. I knew it just needed a little help. Wow. Everything in here is nice and pretty. A little bit of oil in there. Our green O-ring is good. Now let's take off the inlet line over here. They put a 90 on it. I should be able to leave this. Now we'll take that off too. Let's just take it all apart, make it easier. It's one of those things, spend 2 minutes and take it apart. Make it way easier to do the rest of the work. That's the wrong way, Dumbo. I think I'm just gonna leave the pump sitting here, just take the head off, and then we'll put it back together when we're done. So this is the inlet side. So you see you have your brass, brass fittings coming into a little inlet jumper hose. Yeah, it's 28. Now it's kind of stiff, so I don't know how I'm gonna get that off. Okay, so there's our fill. So let's dump the oil first. I need to find something to put the oil into. That seems appropriate. I've got an empty container of GSF. I'm gonna cut a hole in this. Dang, this stuff smells so good. I got this in the store now. It's ready to go. I think it's the first soap that really is something that wows me over the atoms that I've been using for years. But we have these 1 liter bottles in the store, and the 5 liters are coming. Should be here soon. Thing I'll do is I'll just slide that in like that. I'll catch it. Nice. Getting a little wiser as I get older. Coming up with smarter things. 13. Yeah. Okay, so let's take our drain bolt or our fill bolt off, or fill, whatever you want to call it, off first. That's like a 20, 22. So here's what we think. This is a theory that Kyle and Tommy came up with, which I think is pretty smart. You heard that air coming out. And so what I think is happening to some of our pumps that end up with a little drip is that they're a little overfilled from the factory. So if you ever notice a drip coming out, it's because there's too much pressure in the head of the pump here, or where the wobble plate is. So the simple solution is just change the oil and put in less than what they've included with it. I think they're speccing the fill because we're the only ones that have the 1322. So I think the wobble plate has more displacement or takes up more space than it does on a 1622. So I think that's what's causing some issues with some pumps. Now mine, with this, I probably have some blow by, some water that blows by. So it's opposite blow by. Oil isn't blowing by, but water's blowing by, filling up, causing water to seep out the bottom here because there's just too much pressure. Because there shouldn't be that much fluid or liquid inside. So now, what did I do with the 13? I just had. Oh. What the heck did I do with it? That's right here. Now the question is, how am I going to get in here? This is actually going to work pretty well. I might just have to keep this GSF bottle just simply for this task. And then we're going to put authentic Kranzle gear oil, but I think you can use 5W50, I think it is. I think 5W50 is equivalent. But I do have the Kranzle gear oil. The problem is, I'll have to go look up the manual. I don't know how much don't know how much oil this version of the pump takes. I'll just message Josh at Kranzle, ask him what this takes. Oh man, that's some ugly looking oil. That's some ugly looking oil there. It's actually not too bad for being 4 years and never touching it. That's just the reason why it's discolored like that is because there's some water that's gotten in there. Huh. I'm proud of myself for my little GSF contraption here. All right, so we'll let that drain. I'm not going to mess with the unloader. The unloader should be fine, but you know, unloader is something that could be changed or adjusted. You know, there should be no reason why you ever have to mess with the unloader. Still some oil sitting on there. What I'll do is we'll let that drain out, and then what I'll do is I'll probably dump some fresh gear oil through there as well. So here's the really fancy, really expensive, you only need one, but I just have a partially used one. But this is the Kranzle High Performance Gear Oil. We sell this in the store. I also sell the seal kits. Now this seal kit is for the bigger pump. And so if you have one of these bigger pumps and you need to service it, just shoot me an email, matt@obsessedgarage.com or support@obsessedgarage.com, and we'll get you the kit. It's like 90 bucks or something like that. But the, you get check valves, you want to buy check valves and seals for this, and then oil. This is pretty expensive, but it's like 50 bucks or something like that, maybe a little bit more. But this is, I think, what I like using, the stuff straight from Kranzle that they recommend you use in all the pumps. So I would suggest you use that. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4 6mm hex bolts I think we got to take out. Man, this thing looks beautiful. We got really nice water. The water here is really quality, but I don't see any signs of rust even from doing DI water. You know, this pump or this DI tank is probably not enough to keep up with this thing, because we get about, you know, three-ish gallons per minute out of this machine. A little bit more. The KWS-700, I haven't measured it, but I think we'd end up getting more like 4 gallons a minute at 1,000 psi, because I'm opening up the orifice a little bit. Man, I paid attention in class when I was at Kranzle USA getting taught how to do all this. Just gonna pop this off. But this is why you spend the money. Now this machine, I think, was $4,500. The current version of this is $3,500 bucks, $3,600. But I'm telling you, this comes apart and goes together like a Porsche does. At least I say that now. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this off of here. We're going to find out. This short little whip hose is kind of in the way. Let me show you what I'm taking off here a little closer. So you can see I'm taking 1, 2, 3, 4 6mm bolts out. So before I do that, let me dump a little gear oil through there. This is kind of an expensive move. Just to flush it out a little bit. Just don't want to knock that off onto the floor. So the reason I need to take this part of the head, the front of the head off, or the entire head of the pump off, is because we need to get to the seals. the way that a radial axial pump works is there's a plate in here that, and then there's a crank, there's a shaft, and the shaft, so the electric motor, shaft connects to the electric motor. There's, you know, windings in here, and it turns the shaft, you know, this way, and then there's a plate, and that plate is at an angle. And so the plate wobbles touching plungers, and so there's 3 plungers in here that all move in and out like it's a piston. And there's a seal that seals off the oil chamber or the transmission housing from the actual water side of the pump. And so what happens over time is the seals wear out and they need to be replaced periodically. And those seals are what keep the water from the oil side connecting. I'll give you a little better view of what that oil looks like once it's done draining out here. But if you were to, you know, if you were using this commercially, which is what this is intended for, and if you took really good care of this, you know, I would service it once. I would do what I'm doing here if I was using this all the time, you know, all day, you know, for hours and hours if you're in a detail shop or something. I would do this procedure that I'm doing right now once every 6 months, even though that's probably overkill. If you did that once every 6 months, I think this is a 20-year pump. You get a long life out of it. And since this is the first time I'm doing this on this, it's taken me a little longer than it would if I, you know, knew the procedure. But who knows, the next garage giveaway recipient might get one of these. Not this one, but depending on what the garage is like. Buy some crap in the store, somebody's gonna win a ridiculous garage. So, take a look at, oh, I don't want to spill it. Take a look at what our oil looks like. A little scummy, a little ugly looking. I'm gonna get my drain bolt out of there. I think I dropped it in there. Clean it out here. See that? Twist this puppy up in there. I'm gonna open up the housing and wipe it all out anyway. Plus I just want to see what it looks like in here. See if there's any weird wear on the plungers. You could buy new plungers if you needed to. Okay, so now this should come off. Just take a big flathead. Just be careful not to do any damage. Just want to spread it apart a little bit. Remember, brass is a soft metal. There we go. Almost got it. Maneuver it here enough to get it off. There we go. There we go. There's just an O-ring holding it in. So, there's our pump head. Wow, it's pretty heavy in comparison to the little guys. So these seals, oh man, pretty. Doesn't look like there's any damage at all. It's looking really clean. So these are the plungers that create the pressure. We need a little flathead here. Get these out. You know, hard water buildup in there, we'll clean all that off. I'm just going to take the head off rather than scraping at it too much. guess this isn't the head, but you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna take off this whole piece, and then I'll be able to push the, see there's the packing rings, I think they're called. This is great. You can just pop the front of this off and service everything without having to take the pump and disconnect all the wiring and stuff. I'm excited at the new house. I'm going to upgrade all my tools and have all Sonic Milwaukee. I've got like all my old stuff here at the house. Man, it looks pretty. Look at that. No wear. I thought this thing would be more beat up. Beautiful. It looks amazing. See, I like taking this off and I can wipe out the whole housing and just get it really dialed. Look at that. Darn work of art. Here's our wobble assembly. No bearing wear. It looks really nice. That's our wobble plate there. No uneven wear, everything looks good there. Wow, beautiful. Looks awesome. Okay, let's go over to the bench and work on other stuff. Let's take a look at this here. Got a little bit of wear on the end of the plungers. Let's take off our, so these are DLC coated, I believe. So this is what creates the pressure. So this is like the piston in your car, right? And so this is coated, and you can see, you'd know you've had cavitation issues, meaning that you had like bad inample water supply, or you'd know if you went too long with your seals. Like if this was all worn, that's how, like with Kranzle, if they're saying, look, there's something wrong, you're not using your pump, or you're not cleaning it or maintaining it like it should, so we're gonna have to replace this or that, and it's gonna cost X amount of money. The way that they'd know that is they pull this thing apart and they look at this and they can see, uneven wear and not necessarily misuse, but not maintaining it properly. And again, you don't really have to take this part. I wouldn't take this apart every time I was maintaining it, but I just wanted to, one for the video here, take it all apart so you can see what everything looks like. I'm telling you, not all pressure washers look like this inside. They're not as precise. And again, this has never been serviced, 4 years. So if you use your machine like mine and you take care of it, oh, there's a little bit of wear there that these other ones don't have. That could be where I was getting some blow by in one of the seals. Water coming into the housing, but again, it's not a lot.
if there was water coming through, it's just this section just really needs to be taken care of. But I need to push these out. See, I've got all this calcium buildup here, so I wonder if I should. I don't want to damage any of the O-rings or anything. These O-rings are all going to get replaced. Let's see, that's, I believe, lime is buildup from a little bit of hard water buildup. And I'm just gently tapping on the head of the screwdriver here. Just getting this to work out. I'm gonna get a call from the Kranzle tech saying, "What are you doing? You can't use PB Blast on there." I'm like, "Oh crap!" But these packing rings are these. I think they're called packing rings. They need to come out so I can change out all the seals and stuff. At least I think they do. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because I've got to get the inner seal out. So these do have to come off. I need a bigger screwdriver. Just don't want to damage anything here. I think there's a tool, there's like a Kranzle pry tool. I just don't have one. It's not budging. So there's a slide hammer that pulls these out. But on the other machines I've done, they just pop right out with just a little touch. This one, not so much. It's just all pressure fit in there. And again, I can't get the harder seals out unless I can get that. All right, well, I gotta go to the gym anyway, so I'm gonna go check the videos out and we'll come back out and work on this a little bit.
All right, I'm back 4 days later. So, just to cue you in, bring you up to date here, here's the problem. Here's what I did wrong, or what I encountered was the packing retainers, or whatever these things are called. I should have looked up what they're called. They're like vented packing rings. And so these, let me make sure I stay in focus here. So these were stuck in here like this. Normally, there's an O-ring around here. Normally they're stuck in here like that. And what you do is you take a pair of pliers and you take the O-ring out and you grab the edge like this, careful not to damage it, and you kind of wiggle it out. Well, these were stuck in here. And so what I was doing is I had to grab like this and I marred up the inside of the ring. And so Kranzle actually makes a slide hammer that comes in here and it pops out. And I ordered one of those. It's probably good for me to have one. So I'm gonna order one of those. And you can see all the lime, or probably calcium buildup here. I'm gonna get some CLR and clean that up. But what I did was ordered, cost me $100 bucks, but I ordered some new rings. So now I have some new fresh rings to, oh no. Oh crap. Wrong ones. Well, scrap that. I guess we'll be back in a couple more days. All right, another day. I'm back again. So, with tools and the right equipment this time. So, let me cue you in. I don't know if I talked about this, but the rings, yeah, I did talk about this. Again, the rings were in here, so I used a pair of pliers, kind of worked it out. But it really only works if you have the rings in here and you can pull it out this way. See what I'm saying there? So you can't be doing it where you're reaching on the inside because you jacked it up. So I got some new packing rings, and these are the right ones this time. This is an 18mm pump, which I didn't realize. Makes sense why the KWS-700, which is a 20mm pump, has more output. Now, since we're replacing all this stuff, I'm going to take these out as well. And I did order the slide hammer. This is a 2-jaw hammer, slide hammer puller. Looks like this from Westward. So we can get these for you if you need them, but you can probably get it anywhere. I've never used one of these suckers. I've used a slide hammer for injectors, an injector puller, but not for this. So we're gonna figure this out. Ouch. Oh, dang it. Okay, so I think what we do is put this in like that. How does this work? How do we expand this thing out so it stays in place? That's the question. Oh, turn this down. Turn this up. Take the nut. I see. Okay. You guys see what I'm doing here? Well, first time for everything. Cool. So, I guess having this little inexpensive slide hammer is not a bad idea to have laying around to use for stuff. Who's messaging? Oh, wow, there's another O-ring inside of there. I don't know if I have that piece. I'm gonna clean this all out. I took the O-ring off of here. I hope I don't have to order more parts. What I don't want to do is mess up these O-rings here. Looks like they aren't coming out very easily. But I do want to clean this up. Let me go wash it off first and see. Yeah, I'd really like to make this look fresh and new. So let me see if I can get these out. Because the seal kit doesn't replace these. You see that inside of there? Little black rings. So, let me just try this. Just want to use a little bit of this CLR, see if this will clean it up. This is one of those things where I don't like to have any leftover residual on my container. That's not looking good though. I'm gonna have some left over. Wish I could live like my wife is just so much more chill. I open up things all the time where she just kind of pokes a hole in it and just says whatever. I can't handle that. All right, I kind of need some sort of brush or something.
I'm gonna go get an old toothbrush, clean this thing up. I knew I bought these not long ago for a reason. Got a little brush here. Just do this. Oh shoot. I was gonna say, I'm gonna do this and avoid getting it everywhere. Probably should have soaked it in this for a few days. This is where I think at Kranzle they have a parts washer and they can just take these things and throw it in there. Kind of rebuild them. I think that's about as good as I'm gonna get it. I think that's all it really needs. Okay, let's set all this stuff aside. Let's start reassembling. So we don't need our puller anymore. That thing came in handy, but so while I'm at it, I'm gonna change the check valves here real fast. 19. Probably not gonna be able to break that loose here like this. Nope. But I just so happen to have a brand new M18, this guy, mid-torque. I doubt these check valves need to be replaced, but we're gonna do it anyway. And there's an O-ring right here. Let's just pull this off and freshen it up. Even though these are green, they should be the same size. So this is a check valve kit. And yeah, there's another O-ring down in there that we have to get out. I might pull it out with my finger, but. And so the little one goes in, and the big one, yeah, there's a 15 millimeter and a 16 millimeter. So these are the 15s. Take a little Vaseline. Push it in there. Sit down on the bottom there. And the 16. Move this down here. 16 goes there. Kind of fun, makes you feel like a real man doing this kind of stuff. Just make sure these are the same size. Yep, all good. And so once again, this is almost completely unnecessary, but I like doing it, so let's remember it goes that way. And this was a 19, that looks a little bigger, it looks like a 20. Stupid friction ring. It's a brand new one. Shoot. So again, these check valves probably don't need to be replaced for like 1,000 hours, but I'm in here, it's kind of fun. Just make it nice and fresh and new. So you can see what we got. So check valve, sitting there nice and pretty. I'm gonna take this one off now. And here's what the check valves, here's what the old ones look like. Here's the new one. Then you got 15 millimeter, which goes inside. 16 millimeter, which goes on here. I just stood on it, put this on, and just whacked it with a hammer. So I couldn't get a whole lot of leverage otherwise. So this is where the third check valve is on the top, but this is also where the gauge goes. Uh-oh. Oh shoot. I put the check valves in backwards. Ooh, good thing I recognized that. You guys were yelling at the screen. Shoot. I mean, I need to take all that all apart. Crap, I almost really messed that up. That would have stunk. Check valves go in this way. That would have been bad. Don't know what would have happened, but it wouldn't have worked properly. I knew that looked a little weird. Only one way to learn these things is to dive in, Shelly. Oh, she's gone. Shoot, I'm talking to her. Let's hope I didn't turn this into another multi-hour project to get this thing apart. Maybe some needle nose. Do I have needle nose here? Yeah, I do. Whoa. Okay, there's one. Goes in. Oh, shoot. Crap. Well, looks like we're putting the old ones back in here. Dang it. Well, lesson learned. Idiot. Yep, see. So, don't do that. Dang it. Idiot. That's the way they go. This way. Use your brain. Don't do it like I do. I just wasn't paying attention at all. Just did it bonehead move. Wanted to have some nice fresh check valves in there. Well, sorry about that. Can't win them all. And this last one we could just put on with the impact. Okay, so that's back together. Let's chuck all this, including my ruined check valves. Now, let's put these rings back in, hopefully. Let's lube them up. Hopefully we can get these back in without marring them up or damaging them. I wonder what I could use to just tap them back in place. We'll see. Okay. They should just seat where they need to. I hope. I'll send this video to Josh at Kranzle, and he can tell me what I did right and what I did wrong. Okay. So that is good. So before we forget this, let's put this back on. Let's just put a little Vaseline on that O-ring. Okay, so that's back together. Now, let's get our old rings out of the way. And then sleeves for valve housing. So we got a soft version and a hard version. So these are the hard. So these hard ones, because this goes like that. So the hard one goes inside. No. Yeah, because it goes like this. So the soft one goes inside. There's a diagram right here, so you can follow this diagram. So if you don't do it right, so we go washer. So this washer is going to sit here. All right. It's actually going to go inside of here. So the way it goes is soft. So the blue one is a hard one, the black one is a soft one. Okay. And the retainer ring goes cup side in. And so it goes washer. So this brown washer, which is kind of hard. Just leave that there for a minute. Just want to lube this up. Same thing with this little clip inside. So it goes like that. And then the O-ring faces so the U goes in. And then we've got a O-ring that goes over top like this. So that goes over top. And then this washer sits inside of there like that. So that's the brown washer. Okay. And then this will end up going in like that. But first, we put our hard washer, hard O-ring, our other washer. So it goes in here. I hope this is the same. This looks like this is going to be really difficult to get in here. So I'm going to use a little screwdriver, but I'm going to be careful not to damage this. kind of work it in there. There we go. Look. And then take our washer. Our washer kind of sits in like that. To make this nice and neat. Push that in place like that. That's a thing of beauty right there. Nice, fresh setup. And that'll seal everything up nicely. Okay, so let's do the same thing to this. So we take our O-ring, put our O-ring over top. Take our black seal and our little retainer inside. The little channels or little ridges point out and then they go in to here. Where did this come from? Then take this, lube up the wall, lube up the O-ring, and clean off our hands so we can jam it in there. So what I was doing, just getting it started. And we take our screwdriver and guide it in a little bit at a time. Because again, this one's pretty stiff. But the Vaseline will help to get it in there. And once it goes, it goes. So remember the O-ring, you can see it. So this O-ring side goes into the pump head like that. Make sure everything clean and sealed. Nice. That's beautiful. So what happens is you have these leakage ports on these little rings, and so then you can see, water starts to drip over time. And so you need to make sure these are new and fresh and sealed up. Beautiful. Okay. Just got our check valves in. We got this all put back together. Make sure there's no water on here left over from us washing stuff out. Okay, so now we're ready to reassemble. Only took me a week to get to this point. So now these guys go back in here like this. Two. Remember, we inspected all this, everything looks good. So there's our plungers. Everything is now will be all sealed up into here. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is get the plungers put back in place. So let's do one last little wipe out here. Make sure our bearings, everything here is good. All right, make sure our wobble is in place. Okay, lined up. I cleaned out our little indicator. Before I do all this, I'm gonna clean up this area. Can't be a detailer and not have a clean inside housing of your pressure washer. Especially if you're getting it all maintained. You know what I'm saying? All right, so now, first step is to put housing back on, but let's make sure our drain bowl is tight. Let's put the transmission housing back on. I think that's what this is called. Our O-ring's good. And we're gonna have to push on here to get this started. It's gonna have to get in your way here for a minute. You have to make sure not to cross thread these. It'll be easier to get it started up top. And it will be to your benefit. Do them all relatively evenly. I just want to get them all started, and then we'll use the impact. Make sure we don't have any cross threading. I'm not sure what the torque spec is, but I got a pretty good feel for things, so we'll be just fine. Josh didn't use a torque at Kranzle when we took apart the others, and he didn't set it to any specific torque rating, so I think we'll be all right. Starts leaking oil everywhere, then we know we did something wrong. Plungers are a thing of beauty. All good. Okay. So now I got the pump head, but I want to get the water line on first, I think. It's not the most flexible thing. You got it? And the two long bolts go in here.
those started. And the two short ones go in the bottom. Looks like these had Loctite on them, but I don't think we use Loctite when we put these on at HQ, at Kranzle HQ. Okay. And these are 6mm. Remember, we got brass going into aluminum, so I don't think you want to go rock tight, but we do want it to be tight. Okay, heads on. So now we can put our gauge back on. That was a 14, I think. Then let's tighten down the big guy, water inlet, which was what, a 26, 30 or something like that. This is just low pressure, so shouldn't need to be super tight. It's not a 30, but okay. Then we put our outlet line back in place. No tape on any of these, they all have O-rings. And tight will be sufficient there. Okay, so now the hard part is figuring how much oil to put in the darn thing, because we don't want to overfill it. Patricia seemed to think that we needed a whole liter, but that seems like a bit much, don't you? Seems like too much. So I'm going to watch the fill bolt. I wonder if I can see up in there, because on the 1122 and stuff, you can see the fill line, or you can see the top of the housing. Just back this up a little bit here. I think I might be able to see in there. How do I not have a flashlight? You got everything in the world. There we go. Oh, my flashlights are dead. Tell me I don't have to use a darn cell phone. I think I do. I need to charge up my batteries. I mean, it's not a super exact thing, but I don't have the manual for this anymore. So I'm going to watch the fill bolt. So this is Kranzle gear oil. Just have a little left in that. Oh, okay, so we just filled up the fill bolt area. Or the, whatever you call it, not the fill bolt, the dirt screen, or whatever you want to call that thing. The thing that you look at to see if you got dirty oil. Indicator hole. So,
Oh, shoot. Oh, crap. Well, I overfilled it. Dang it. How's that possible? I used like a... God dang. Freaking idiot. How did I do that? Man, I used like a... Not even a close to a full liter. This is like a quarter of a liter. What am I doing wrong here? Yeah. That's overfilled now. Well, that'll be good. We get a real deal flushing by dumping it all again. Starting fresh. Too bad this stuff is like 75 bucks a bottle or something crazy like that. Well, well, it definitely doesn't take a liter. I figured as much. It doesn't even take a quarter of a liter. We're gonna have a nice flushed out Kranzle though. Some super duper clean everything. Okay, we're back on. Dump that in that Kranzle bottle. And we'll take that to the Vance Auto and drop it off. Okay. So now, it'd be a lot easier if I had the actual spec, and I just a little too impatient to get it. I'm looking at the air bubble here. Why do I feel like I put more oil in this time than I did last time? There we go. Boom. Down inside. Just a tad bit more. And we're good. And hopefully this thing works. It doesn't shoot water everywhere. Got our gauge to do. Okay, let me switch batteries. All right, so let's put the cover back on. That's pretty smart. There's a little lip on top to hang it. Ignore the oil I spilled all over the floor. Just do one of those little meals. And we'll leave it under here and get it some other day. Okay, that's good. So let me just connect the gauge so we don't have water shooting out the top here. Now, let's turn the water on slowly. Nothing leaking. That's good. Let's go pull the trigger outside.
System's pretty awesome. There's virtually no air. I don't really have to worry about it. Let's kick a breaker on. Let's hope nothing blows up. Wow, it sounds a lot smoother. I gotta tighten this up here. Wow, it sounds a lot better. Man, I'm surprised. So let me let the pressure out. So I'm telling all of you guys, if you've made it this far into the video, just know that, water under pressure, a lot of times is gonna have little leaks and things that you're gonna have to fight through. You're gonna have to figure out. So don't call crying. It takes a little time to work through. Make sure all your O-rings are good. You're still gonna have some little drips and things that you're gonna have to work on. It very rarely, water under this much pressure, very rarely can you just turn it on and have everything work perfectly. You've got to do a little trial and error, tighten, retape, retorque. It's part of the deal. You get it all the time where people freak out. I don't have anybody to call. So, I'm not saying you can't contact us, but at some point you're gonna have to take some responsibility at fixing your crap. I thought hand tightening would have been good, but it's not enough. Let's try that. Now it's leaking even worse. Didn't I turn the water off? Oh, forgot to turn the water off. I may need to get a new O-ring for this. Now it's tight. The only way that leaks is if we have a bad O-ring, I think. So I think what I'll do, I'll just get a new green O-ring for this. From the shop tomorrow. If that O-ring isn't sealing. I mean, you should be able to just hand tighten it. Yeah, okay. I'll get a new O-ring for that. So you can see it's leaking from back here, which about the only way that can leak is if there's water getting past the O-ring. It wasn't leaking before. So we'll get a new O-ring, put it on there, and it should seal it up, hopefully. All right, today is like day 9 of me working on this thing. Went and got an O-ring. It's a green O-ring. And that O-ring is going to go. I gotta take this back apart. So the O-ring, generally if you have a leak on the outlet, the green O-ring is right on the edge here. And so there's nothing, you don't want to tape this type of connection because that can lead to air siphoning into the system, or I guess siphoning, leaking out of the system, because that wouldn't be siphoning, but you don't want that. And so the O-ring seals the inside here, which should solve our problem. All right, many days later, it's a wrap. I had to order another part, but the thing is working. I just take this hose, put it in here, and run it for the time being. But I figured out what this is. This is a flow meter, which sends signal back to the machine to sort of tell it if there is no flow. I'm not sure if it has something to do with the 30-second delay or not, but this piece here has a crack in it. That's why it's leaking. And so I need to find, this is BSP, to then connect to M22. I'm gonna try to get a hold of one of these and see if I can get one. But anyway, that's a wrap on this project. Thing runs smooth, working well. I got everything cleaned up. And once I get this piece, I'll put it all back together and we're good to go. So thanks for watching. And I guess that's probably the last you'll see of this pressure washer, because I'll be doing the KWS-700, which is the 20mm version of this here soon on in my next car wash bay project when I move from this house. So thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.